There's something oddly quiet about betrayal. It doesn't come in with a bang or a scream. It arrives like a whisper, almost too soft to notice, until it's all you can hear. It started with her hand. One morning, as Ava rushed out the door for work, I noticed she wasn't wearing the engagement ring. The ring I'd spent 2 months researching, saving for, and ultimately presenting to her beneath a grove of golden aspens in Colorado, her favorite place on earth. A symbol of promises made and futures dreamed. She was halfway through her usual routine, hair still damp from the shower, keys in one hand, travel mug in the other, when I saw it. Her left hand was bare. "You forgot your ring," I said, gesturing casually, as if I were offering to bring it to her. She paused for half a second. It was quick, almost unnoticeable, but I saw it, a flicker of something behind her eyes. Not guilt, not quite. More like calculation. "Oh, right," she said, glancing at her hand. "I just don't like to wear it at work. You know how much I'm on the computer all day. It's annoying to type with." She smiled like it was nothing, like it made perfect sense. And maybe it did. Or maybe I just wanted it to. I nodded, brushing it off with a quick, "Got it," and she leaned over to kiss my cheek before heading out. But something stayed with me after the door clicked shut. It wasn't just the missing ring. It was the way she said it. The practiced ease. The fact that I'd never heard her complain about it before. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I stood in the kitchen a while longer, coffee cooling in my hands, watching the spot where she'd been. My thoughts told me to let it go. She had a stressful job. Maybe she just wanted to avoid drawing attention at the office. Maybe I was being overly sensitive. But something in me, something quieter and older, had already started to shift. I didn't have answers yet, only questions. And questions, I've learned, have a way of multiplying once you let them in. They say the truth has a way of slipping through the cracks, and sometimes it shows up as a caption under a photograph. It was a casual Tuesday night. Ava was upstairs taking a long shower after another exhausting day, and I was scrolling on my phone, half distracted, waiting for our takeout to arrive. Out of habit more than interest, I opened Instagram and tapped through a few stories. Then I saw it. A photo posted by someone I didn't recognize, a woman from Ava's office, apparently. The caption was simple. "The office's favorite single girl nail polish hashtag Queen Ava hashtag independent vibes." And there she was, center of the frame, laughing, head tilted just slightly. Her hand was raised, her left hand, clear as day. No ring. A small circle of coworkers posed beside her, drinks in hand, dressed for what looked like a Friday happy hour. And none of them, not one, looked like they thought Ava was engaged. I read the caption again. Single girl. That word clung to my thoughts like static. I told myself it might be an old photo. Maybe a misunderstanding. Maybe the coworker didn't know about us. But when I checked the timestamp, it was posted just a few hours ago. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I started to pay attention. The next morning, I watched her routine a little closer. She did wear the ring while making breakfast, sipping coffee. But just before she left, when she thought I wasn't looking, she slipped it off and tucked it into her jewelry tray. No hesitation. No thought. Just habit. That's when I realized. This wasn't about comfort. Or typing. Or practicality. This was intentional. She was hiding something. Or someone. The distance between us started growing quietly. Like the gap between two boats adrift at sea. You don't notice it at first, not until the other one is too far to call back. We still laughed, still touched shoulders in the kitchen, still shared weekend plans. But inside, I had started observing everything. The way she always seemed slightly out of reach after coming home from work. How she turned her phone face down during dinner. The nervous glance she gave me when I asked how her coworkers were doing. I didn't have proof yet. Only patterns. But they were building, slowly, quietly, like a storm behind glass. And I was done pretending not to see it. The night I found it all started like any other. Ava had fallen asleep early on the couch, wine glass half empty, a mindless show playing softly in the background. She looked peaceful. If you didn't know better, you'd think she was the picture of honesty. But I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. The caption. The ring she removed each morning. The growing quiet between us. There comes a point when doubt starts to rot you from the inside. I'd reached it. Her phone sat face down on the coffee table. She always kept it that way. For months. Until now, I had respected that. Her space, her privacy. But tonight, I couldn't. I picked it up. My hands didn't shake. Not out of calm, out of resolve. She used the same 4-digit code for everything. Birth year. Hers, not mine. It opened on the first try. What I found wasn't dramatic, not at first. No flirty messages glowing on the lock screen. No missed calls from mystery numbers. But tucked deep in her apps was an account I didn't know existed. A separate Instagram. Different handle. No photos of us. No ring. No engagement. Instead, selfies at work events. Dinners I never knew happened. Captions like, "Nights like these make me forget everything else." And then there were the DMs. Conversations with a man named Caleb, a coworker, apparently. They weren't overtly romantic. Just intimate. Too intimate. Inside jokes. Late-night check-ins. Her sending a photo of her in bed with the caption, "Can't sleep again, grinning face with sweat." That was the first fracture. Then I saw her Tinder profile. Yes, an actual, active Tinder account. I stared at it for what felt like an hour. A photo I'd taken of her on a hike. Just her, smiling into the light. Her bio. Just looking for someone who sees me. I sat back in the dark, her phone dimming in my hand, the weight of it suddenly heavier than I could hold. I didn't feel rage. Not then. Not even sadness, really. Just clarity, cold and sharp. She'd made 2 versions of herself. One for our home, our life. One for the rest of the world. One that didn't include me. And the worst part? She was so good at it. I almost believed both were real. That night, I didn't wake her. I didn't demand an explanation. I just looked at the woman I thought I knew and began silently packing my strength. She kissed me on the cheek the next morning like nothing was wrong. "Coffee?" she asked, already halfway to the kitchen, bare feet padding across the floor. The same floor we once danced on after we got engaged. That night had felt electric. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the person I get to share a life with. Now, I could barely look at her without feeling a chill in my bones. "Sure," I replied calmly. It was strange how easy it was to keep up the act, to mirror her smile, to ask about her meeting, to pretend I hadn't seen her split life play out on a screen 12 hours earlier. But that's the thing about betrayal. Once you've seen the truth, pretending becomes your only armor, until you're ready to walk away. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I didn't ask why. Instead, I opened a new checking account, quietly rerouted what was left of the wedding fund into it. Not all at once, just enough to avoid notice. A few hundred here, 1,000 there. It added up fast. She was too distracted to notice, or too confident I'd never question her. That was her mistake. I found a short-term lease across town. Furnished. Month to month. I used my brother's name on the paperwork. A simple favor. I told him I'd explain later. Each night that week, I packed one small bag. My watch, the cufflinks my dad gave me, some books, a few shirts. Things that mattered. Things she wouldn't notice missing. She kept talking about cake tastings, dress fittings, how we needed to finalize the seating chart. I nodded and smiled. Said I'd check my calendar. She never once asked if I was okay. She didn't notice I stopped reaching for her hand at night, or that I left earlier in the morning, or that I stared at her for long moments, as if studying a stranger. Maybe she did notice and just didn't care. Or maybe she was too busy maintaining her other life to see mine slipping quietly away. The last night in our apartment, she told me she was staying late at work. "Client dinner," she said, checking her reflection in the mirror. She wore the dress I loved most, the one she used to save for nights with me. I waited until her car disappeared around the corner. Then I finished packing the last box. I left her ring on the kitchen counter, and I walked out the door, not even bothering to lock it behind me. The first message came at 6:12 a.m. "Where are you?" I turned off my phone. When I turned it back on 12 hours later, there were 13 missed calls, 7 voicemails, and a string of frantic texts, each one more desperate than the last. "Babe, please call me. Are you okay? What's going on? This isn't funny, you're scaring me. Are you seriously doing this right now? We have a venue meeting tomorrow. Answer me." I didn't. I watched her world unravel from the quiet of my new place. A small second-floor apartment with chipped paint and creaky floors, but it felt like freedom. The air was still. Nobody lied here. Within days, word got out. The wedding was off. Nobody knew why. Or maybe they did. The rumors spread quickly, faster than the truth ever could. My mother texted. So did a few mutual friends. I answered none of them. I didn't know anyone's explanations. Then came the real fallout. The venue deposit had vanished. Or so she told the planners. She'd assumed I'd covered it like always. The florist called. So did the caterer. Payments were due. Contracts were expiring. Everything we had planned was unraveling before her eyes. And then, of course, her secret life came into focus. Apparently, a colleague, the same man I saw in the photos, the same one she flirted with in the messages, had no idea she was engaged. That little detail hadn't made it into their conversations or their after-hours strategy meetings. From what I heard, he backed away fast once it all came out. People began connecting dots, and the polished image she had so carefully curated began to fracture. I sat on the balcony of my new place that night, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You disappeared. I'm sorry. I was stupid. Please, just talk to me. It wasn't the first time she'd said that, but it was the first time I believed she meant it, not because she missed me, but because she missed the life she lost. I sipped my coffee and watched the sky turn from orange to black. Let her feel the silence for once. Let her sit with everything she tried to hide. Because this time, there was no one left to save her. It was a Thursday evening when I finally picked up her call. Not out of curiosity, not out of softness, but because I was ready to end it on my terms. Her voice cracked through the speaker like a storm barely held together. Thank God. Where have you been? I've been losing my mind. I was silent for a beat, letting the moment stretch. I'm safe, I said calmly. That's all you need to know. You can't just disappear like that. I didn't know if you were okay, if something happened. Something did happen, I cut in, my voice steady. I found out who you are. She was quiet. Is this about the photos? She asked. Because that was it. No, I interrupted. It's about the other life. The one where you're single at work. Where you flirt with colleagues. Where you use dating apps while planning a wedding with someone else. That life. Her breath caught on the other end. For a moment, I thought she'd hang up. But she didn't. I never meant to hurt you, she said finally. It didn't mean anything. It was just attention. Stupid validation. I was going to stop before the wedding. I almost laughed. Before the wedding, I repeated. So you could step into a life you were already dismantling piece by piece? You don't understand, she whispered. I panicked. It was all happening so fast. I didn't think. No, I said. You did think. Every time you removed your ring before work. Every lie you told your coworkers. Every message you sent him. That was a choice. All of it. There was silence. Then a choked sob. Please. We can fix this. Counseling, space, whatever you need. Just don't give up on us. I closed my eyes. Let her words hang in the air. There is no us, I said quietly. You wanted freedom? You have it now. But I love you, she whispered. You love what I did for you. You love the image. The security. But me? You erased me long before I walked out. I stood by the window, watching the faint glow of traffic in the distance. This is me choosing myself, I said. Something I should have done months ago. There was one more pause. Then she said the last thing I ever heard from her. So that's it. Yes, I replied. That's it. And I hung up. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel angry. I just felt free. 2 months passed. No more voicemails. No more emails. The silence was absolute, and I welcomed it like a long-awaited sunrise. I moved out of our old apartment entirely. The lease had always been in my name, but I left it behind without looking back. A clean space felt like a clean slate. I settled into a modest one-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood just outside the city. No reminders. No ghosts. Just walls that belonged to me and me alone. At first, the nights were strange. The absence of her voice, her perfume in the hallway, her shoes by the door, it echoed. But over time, the silence turned from hollow to peaceful. I bought a cheap guitar, something I hadn't touched since college. I ran in the mornings, cooked in the evenings. I even started talking to people again, friends I hadn't seen in years because I'd been too busy shaping my life around someone who never shaped hers around me. The ring stayed in a drawer, tucked away in the back beneath folded receipts and old keys. I didn't look at it. I didn't need to. It wasn't about bitterness, just closure. It sat there like a sealed envelope, no longer needing to be opened. I didn't stalk her socials. I didn't ask mutual friends how she was doing. That wasn't the point. This wasn't about punishing her. It was about no longer punishing myself by staying in a life that had stopped feeling like mine. Some evenings I sat by the window, sipping coffee, watching the streetlights blink on one by one. No dramatic music, no sweeping finale. Just stillness. And in that stillness, I found something resembling peace. I was never the kind of man who believed in starting over. But I was learning now that starting over doesn't always mean forgetting what happened. Sometimes, it means carrying it differently. Lighter, wiser, freer. That chapter is closed now. And the next one, whatever it is mine to write. Alone, yes, but not lonely. And this time, I'm not giving my heart to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. Not again. Never again.